always the avenue of a petition warrant article. Completely democratic. In fact, more democratic than running it through 3 people, in my mind. So, but Glenn's right. Bringing something like that forward on November 30th is pretty much guaranteed that the selectmen will endorse it, because it's just irresponsible to try to make a decision that large in that tiny little window of time we have before we have to file the warrant.
Right.
It's not good government when you do it that way.
I'm all for years. How about you, Rob?
I'm not done with that, but I'll keep this meeting rolling because
Other than you can buy a really good new fire truck for a lot less money than
Actually, let's bought their fire and rescue combined for $396.
Jeff, come on up here where we can see you. This person is named Jeff Marsden. And he's a good guy, and I roped him into doing some analysis on Mount Violet. Then you're going to talk about whatever you're going to talk about.
Oh, I'll wait for Randy.
Ready to adjourn?
Joel,
Chief Search? Yes, ma'am.
when new people come, shouldn't they be notified that they're being recorded? I mean,
Sure, you're being recorded.
Fair enough.
Your parole officer probably
Yeah.
thinks you're in Miami,
That's right.
but you're not. And now he knows. She knows. So this is something we just started this week at the behest of a citizen. You'll remember we broadcast and recorded deliberative sessions in years past. The proposal is to do that every week because what we talk about here is so fascinating to so many people. I'm for it without being too much of a smart aleck.
So, Chief Search Committee,
Yeah, how we doing?
we got all our letters sent out.
Both kinds?
Yes, they went out, we finished everything on Thursday.
See? So both kinds. The ones that said we would like to talk to you further, and we provided them with some additional information and phone numbers to call and stuff like that. We also sent letters saying you didn't make the first cut, but we haven't made a final decision, so we may be contacting you in the future. So the letters went out to everyone. The one thing that I did not address, and I haven't addressed yet, was, are you guys okay with Linda and Kelly providing that information to people that will call them, assuming they haven't yet received a letter? Or just saying you'll receive something in the mail? Maybe that's where we're at.
I think we decided that last week.
Did we?
I think what we said last week after not very much discussion was, don't put the staff in the middle on this.
Yeah.
Let the letters do the talking.
I think
So the appropriate staff answer for from applicants over the phone is there's a letter in the mail with your name on it and it should be there tomorrow.
just like the check. Fair enough. All right.
Is that okay, Rob? Yep.
Works for me.
Question,
Ma'am?
is it true? Is it true that Walpole offered their services for command and leadership while we were without a chief?
Not to my knowledge.
I've never heard that.
You may be confusing that with their offer to provide patrol support at a fixed rate per hour, which we think is terrific.
That they have done.
Okay. What do you think about them, since this might take some more time, offering, running out of one management control center?
You mean combining our command and control with multiple?
Well, what is our command? We don't have command.
We
We're
do.
looking for that.
We still have a chief on the payroll
It's true.
who is providing a very few number of hours per week, and we have Roger. What we have continued to ask Roger and the chief repeatedly is, do we need to spend some money with Walpole? Because at $40 an hour, a couple hours of patrol seems to me like a pretty good deal. And the answer we consistently get back is, it's not gonna make that big a difference, if any at all. And they think that things are where they should be right now. We don't wanna delay hiring a chief, and we're moving pretty quick on that. But I have no experience in law enforcement. I can't make that call, so I have to ask people who do. Any thoughts? It's, every time stuff happens, that's when, even myself too, I mean, that's when I'm like, why don't we get more people out there? And then, we ask the questions, they say it's not gonna make that much difference right now.
The thing is, how long has it been? When did Martello give us notice? It seems like this has been going on for quite some time.
And this will continue to go on for some time. I've already been through the process in haste and picked the wrong candidate, and I don't intend to do that again, because that's really expensive of time and money and goodwill.
So maybe taking the offer for some patrol hours at night wouldn't be such a bad idea.
I've brought it up repeatedly.
Well, I don't know how much Marcello's, so they're assessing themselves, pretty much, saying everything's fine?
No, well, I don't know if I would put it that way. I would say that I've asked them directly, number one, is Roger getting burned out, and do we need to supplement his hours with some contractors, which is basically what it is. That was the first question. The answer was no, we're able to get Roger time off when he needs it, and like that. The second question I've had was, there's an apparent spike in crime that seems to be going on. Would we benefit at this time from paying a little bit out of our police budget that's just not getting completely spent right now? Will we benefit by some local patrol hours? And the answer, and this is kind of how I described it before, was, while it can seem like a crime wave to a lot of people, when those guys look at the numbers, it's really not. Now maybe we're just not making any arrests, but neither of them seem to be of the opinion that that's the case.
It still might be good politics to insist.
I'm fine with that too.
Let's talk about it in non-public.
Yep.
If not tonight, then before next week.
Yeah, we can.
So it'd be good for us to convene with the chief and Roger.
It's not like patrolling anymore, it's guidance and leadership.
Well, that's what we're worrying about too.
Okay, same page. Just going to be on TV.
You come over here and address the camera face to face, young lady. Your parole officer would be interested in knowing where you are tonight.
All of them would.
How many states now? Oh,
Once you want to check.
and that tall, lonesome cowboy that just walked in is named Randall Rose. You may recognize him from decades of public service. You are no longer our health officer, is that correct?
That is correct.
Excellent. So you came here to talk about Mount Vilas.
We did.
What do you want to say?
I want a history lesson.
Nobody here's old enough to give it to you. You asked your father.
Yeah. You're not lying on camera, are you?
Be the first time.
All right. So we get Jeff Marsden here, so we're both also residents. I'm an engineer and Jeff's a contractor, so I think we've offered our services, yet to be determined, to help you decide what you want to do with Mount Vilas, what went on last year that I'm not aware of, and see how we might go forward on this. I understand there was a process started last year that was halted at some point. But I don't know if Jeff was involved with that at all, but I know I wasn't. So we have a little bit of background info and a site survey from DiBernardo Associates that he provided to us. So we have a base map. We have a little bit of testing that St. Pierce had done last year. But get a read from the select board about what you'd like to do there and what we can do for you.
What we would like to know is what's in it and how much. And the workaround is, if we can get some level of assurance higher than I think it's, and it looks like it might be about, that there's material in there that our highway department would desire, then we would go seek prices for extracting it in a deal that we've, through Glenn, have sort of negotiated with the school board that says, we'll give you that if you'll make it go away. So we have to balance the cost of extraction and processing against acquiring that material through more traditional methods like up here.
And there's a tie-in with the school district as far as we'd be leaving them with a parking lot that the schools could use.
That is their desire.
Flat piece
A
of
flat piece of ground is what we think the spec reads, but until we are more interested, until we have a higher level of assurance that there's something of value to the taxpayers of this particular town in there, and enough of it to make it worth the while to move the equipment in there, we're not going back to negotiation with the board. Where'd you go? There you are. So that's really 100% of the background. There was, well, I think we went off half-cocked this last year in all good intention.
Was Glenn out, did you go out there with St. Pierre's? Wasn't that several years ago now?
It was, yeah, what happened is when we were up there, what were we doing? David had the excavator up there because we wanted to get some holes to find out what was in there because everybody thought there was ledge like right at the surface. So we dug 2 holes down basically as far as the excavator would go, comfortably 12, 15 feet in 2 different spots. And it was fairly decent material. David says, I could build a road out of that. And I kind of remembered that. So anyways, we didn't hit any ledge with it. Some of the pieces that we thought were outcrops, they hooked onto the excavator and just pulled them right out. So where it is, who knows until you really get into the hill. But that was, then we took the samples. But I'm not a person that was probably experienced at taking samples. We just kind of walked up to the pile and threw a couple buckets in there.
Right, and I've got the 2 samples that St. Pierre had run, and neither one of them's very big. I wouldn't want to base a whole lot on that.
Right.
My experience is that somebody called my office and said, could we provide an engineer to go out with Dave to witness the test pits, and then that call never came, so that.
Right, because we really weren't thinking about that, we were just trying to find ledge, not what the material was like. Because there is also thought of possibly processing the hill to level out the fields. But that is with school funding coming back from the state, cost sharing, which I'm definitely not holding my breath on, because they can't even build bridges unless start paying for schools again. So who knows when that's going to come out.
So I would like to start from that point again and find out when David was working downtown somewhere with an excavator, when we could jump over there and poke around in that pile a little bit more.
I think we fully support that. I think the more information we can get, and I said in my letter to you, and I think he copied you guys, that it's in our best interest to pay for these services if we need to get them on board. Now, I heard you both volunteer, and I'm not going to put you on the spot tonight, but if we need to buy some analysis, we need to buy some equipment time. Here's what the reality is if we don't get this project somewhere by, say, November 1st, it'll just roll around on the calendar again. There's no urgency about moving that mountain for anybody in this room.
There next year.
And part of that is because the Vilas renovation proposal was resoundingly shot down by the voters in the one time it showed up. But the real rubber meets the road is exactly where Glenn is at. And until the legislature returns building aid funding, nothing's going to happen over there. So this is not an emergency. I know you guys are busy. If you can do something for us this year that we can base a decision on, that's great. If we need to spend some money to support that activity, I think we're willing, as long as it is before the fact rather than just the presentation of invoice. Let's find out what we have. This may be nothing, or it may be a valuable resource.
From what St. Pierre ran for samples, it's borderline gravel. It wouldn't be useful for state purposes, but what it really comes down to when you have a road agent is if David thinks he can use it somewhere, then it's valuable to the town. And that's what a lot of it comes down to, is what his upcoming needs are for gravel.
Right.
I think it's fair to say that our concerns were that the sample size was too small.
Yeah.
And the estimations of the volume were variable by a decimal point.
Well, I think,
And I think you guys can fix both of that,
well,
both of those.
I think Jeff's the takeoff expert, but I see this as a pretty straightforward matter as far as what the total of material is in there, and it's just telling you what it is and what you can do with it. Does the town own that property, or does the school district?
Actually, technically the school district owns all the school property. I know that's a debate everybody can get into, but, and that's why I got a quote on what it would cost to remove it. And if we can remove it from.
And what was the quote based on?
Basically just coming in, taking the whole hill off and taking it away.
Down to what elevation?
Down to, I think it was one, where am I here? This is the driveway here. It was, it's right around this elevation here, which would probably be like 479 in that area, because it's about the same level as that over there, except the septic system is, the tank is right here, slope it down to there. And so the space is way right
So did
here.
they come up with a quantity? Did you provide them with a quantity? Is the one
We
coming out?
provided with a quantity of my just, circumference, height, using.
I think what I could do for Jeff is sketch out a flat area. I mean, there's no such thing as a flat area there because everything else around it is sloped.
Yeah.
Come up with a baseline to say, okay, here's final contours. I would propose to make a flat area, and Jeff would plug it in and come up with an estimate of how much material that was.
That's right about where the telephone pole is right there.
Yeah, that is.
And that's right where we were thinking making that level from there on.
So somehow this gets coordinated with the school district as far as we're going to be out digging on your.
Actually, I've already got permission to do that. It's all in the minutes of, I asked them because we postponed the project. I said, is it okay if we get up there and dig some holes because we're going to need more information? They said, not a problem. We'll keep right at it. As long as we keep, I just need to let them know when we're going to be up there with an excavator or something like that. If we do it during school, if we do it real early in the morning, before the buses roll in, is what we did before. And that didn't bother anything as long as we were in and out of there by 8 or 9. Because you know what a madhouse that place is when the buses roll in.
And I left it open as the technique. If you decided the forings were more suitable, then let's talk about that. And if you need to hire a contractor to do that, let's talk about that.
I mean, I think this should be a cheap and straightforward project, and the way to do that is to.
Sounds just like your dad.
I'm a taxpayer too. So if we can use the town excavator, if it's, within the realm of what he's doing anyhow, he's got the excavator down this way, and it's, if he says for some reason it's not economically feasible for him to pull the excavator off wherever he is, because it'll, slow him down, and we're gonna talk about hiring somebody else's excavator to do test pits for half a day, we can approach it that way.
It's true, and there is paving coming up where they emphatically will not be using the excavator somewhere else. 17, 18, 19 August, weather permitting.
I mean, that's all times before the kids are back in school, so they can.
Just barely.
25th.
Yeah.
So, do you want to coordinate with David directly, or do you want the selectmen to be in the middle and make it more complicated?
I guess that answers it right there.
That's what I was hoping.
What's the best number for David? Leave a message at the
It's,
shop.
well, actually, it's Sal.
Okay.
Actually, it's Sal's probably best.
2428 or 209.
You got it off the top of your head.
209.
5353.
That's the one you want, and that does receive text.
Yeah, he does, and he does respond to text.
Okay, good.
Randy does.
Mine is
here.
355 myself.
Yeah, 355.
Yeah, 0597. And I can coordinate with Gail, the principal there, and I'll keep everybody posted what we're doing. And if you keep me, I wouldn't mind, if you need somebody there to help or anything.
Yeah.
Hold the bucket.
I will do that.
Yes, ma'am.
Does Pierre give you any idea on yard? He doesn't do anything.
No, all I have is the two samples they brought back to the lab and tested, so, I mean, somebody just said they provided a
Yeah, basically,
total
we're
volume
there.
in the past, but.
Yeah.
I don't really want to get that number from a potential vendor. I want to get it from the engineer.
That's what we're hoping for.
Right.
So, but your commitment to the school is to not provide them a gravel parking lot, but to provide them a flat spot?
Flat spot, and hopefully if there's enough material in that to crush up. The game plan right now is we're looking at logging off up behind wireless up on the plateau there, because a lot of that lumber is going by. That could generate $2,000 or $3,000. It could go into gravel for a gravel driveway. There is other places that we might be able to find a little bit of money, to get enough money to crush the gravel. If you're in there with the equipment, doing the equipment, it wouldn't be anything to dig that down another foot. To get into some gravel.
Well, that's why I'm asking,
Yeah.
you know, if you're
Yeah, this is
there.
all in the working, but yes, we're trying to find other avenues. And of course, obviously, if the town is gonna make money on the deal, technically, because it would be saving money on it, the town, you know, I'm sure would help. I'm hoping the town would help on it too. Also, there's a benefit to this, because I've talked to Joel, which I've actually found figures on it, of actually putting a new floor in at Wireless at the gym. The money's already there, it needs windows and floors. They've been putting those projects off because we've been talking about this renovation thing, but I don't think the renovation thing's gonna go anywhere until school aid comes back, which could be 10 years or whoever knows. And the list is gonna be huge because it's been so long, and you're really gonna be hard to qualify for it. So this could easily turn into our town hall.
But what we can look at is, depending on how that gravel looks down, where parking lot subgrade might be, is, you know, we can figure, okay, we're gonna take that extra 1 foot or 2 foot, whatever is appropriate.
Process
Leave it at a spot where somebody can come back in and build it back up with right materials to build the parking.
Yeah.
Rather than have to take that extra 1 foot or 2 feet out in the future.
Yeah, the biggest thing is, to figure out what's there and if it's usable.
And we assume these are the spoils from when they made
No,
vinyls. That was
So talk to John Burrows.
And
He can't remember what happened yesterday, but he can remember exactly what went into that mountain.
there are photos that is still there, you know, before even the schools.
Yeah, I mean.
So we don't know, Yeah.
Great.
It's an odd feature.
because Bruce has dug up some stuff, and we had, actually, we found the plans of when they actually built the school, and it had that same thing, that same hill right there, when they had the plans for all drawn up for all the foundation for the original school,
We think back then,
all the blueprints.
if there hadn't been trees on them, it was really good material, they would have used it for
You would have
something
thought
at that point.
Yeah, who knows?
But maybe it did, maybe the pile
Well,
was bigger back then.
some of those trees, I mean, the maple tree we cut down is probably over 100 years old. Rotten, but 100 years old, easily.
Okay.
2.5 feet in diameter.
Yeah, well, I'll coordinate with David and Glenn, and I said the first couple steps we'll make free or cheap, and then I'll get back to everybody with, how do you want to go from there?
Thank you. Other questions for these two rascals?
Well, it's not all camp.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Great, thanks.
We just have another time.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Larry.
Good night.
Something else for tonight's meeting, ladies and germs. I see we have an economist in the room. In the other room.
One quick, we've been waiting for this gentleman to get back to us on the free quote for fixing the compactor. And we still haven't gotten that quote back, so I'm not sure if we're at that point of, I haven't spoken to the gentleman, so I don't know, so this is just basically from what I've heard from Jody and from David, is that I guess he's still looking for some parts that may be obsolete for that piece of equipment, whether or not that's the whole story or not, but they have not got a quote back yet. Obviously, it's been 2 years since that stupid thing's been broken, so. And the question is, when is it gonna break for good?
I understand.
And then you're gonna be in the world. So, I'm not sure if you wanna take another step and say, let's pay someone to come in and do it, or have Dave make more phone call and give the guy one more chance and say,
Touch base with staff. See where it is. Either he needs a reminder, or we need to find someone else.
right,
Well,
pretty soon it's gonna be pretty cold working on that thing, so.
that would make it more expensive.
Joe,
Ma'am?
are they finished with the bridge inspection in Violet?
I haven't seen a bill. I don't know if they're finished. I don't even know if they've begun.
Yeah, they have,
They were out there?
yes, last month, that's why I was wondering if you had heard anything.
No, if I remember the proposal correctly, and that probably isn't true, it was a half a day's work in the field and then 6 weeks in the office, dumping around, something like that.
Well, they spent a couple of days out there, so,
Well, good, because we got a fixed price.
okay. And then, is there any idea on the other projects, when it will happen?
That is sort of out of our hands. That's going to require Fish and Game, or probably more accurately, Department of Environmental Services, green light. And I'll make it my business to tickle Sean Sweeney, make sure he remembers that this is on his critical path.
And it would be nice if it would happen after September 12th.
Well, here's the deal, and that's why it's so great that you gave me a date. Because we can say when it can't happen for our own reasons of convenience or politics or culture. But what we can't say is when it will happen. So we can just flat out say, not until after 9/12.
Right.
And I am okay with saying that. Yep. And after that, the pool committee doesn't care.
Well, we care because there's 2 weddings after season.
So you ought to tell us when those are too. Just shoot me an email, so it'll be in writing.
Well, I think I sat with the, double wedding September 26th. You want to put that in the minutes, and then, the October 10th is a large wedding.
Got it. Well, I don't care how big the wedding is, we just don't want to be running equipment or piling up big stinky piles of mattresses and shopping carts.
And we will officially close after the October 10th wedding. We'll be shutting everything down.
I will make it my business to make sure that the consultant and the contractor know these dates. And I'll do that tonight. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. It works better around here when everybody speaks out what's on their minds, because we've already demonstrated that we can't control this beast, just the 3 of us.
So have you discussed any more about another part-time person, or is that still on hold?
Still on hold. In discussion. We haven't had that discussion yet. So, other business, monkey business. Well, why don't we go home?
Sure. We do not have an executive going into executive, all right?
What's your pleasure?
I thought we talked about maybe grabbing Roger, but if we don't,
He's gone.
he's gone, never mind. Put that on the schedule for next week.
What I wanted to do was touch base with his boss and him with a single communication and say, hey, we'd like to sit down this week before Tuesday. Okay,
That would be good, yeah. And we probably ought to discuss the part-time position with David.
yeah, and I meant to make that happen this week, and but that's okay, because I wouldn't have been able to attend. So, I'll do both of those things, CC you both on those communications, and spin the crank until we find that magic moment when all 5 of us are available. Posting those, we may be required to post those meetings. Thank you very much. William, good to see you back.
Well, good to be back.
You made it through the winter.
Yeah, I asked them how many days the roads were impassable, and apparently not too much. It was just the accumulation.
It was significant.
Yeah, I saw in the newspaper, there's one picture of a postman in Selection. And it was out on the
We have the advantage, of course, of having a place to put this stuff.
yeah, which Boston does not. Well, that's true. We got to that's a good.
Put it in your backyard.
Well, short news, I guess.
Well, we